As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Good evening, everyone. Our professional colleagues, friends of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, our students, ladies and gentlemen. It's another Thursday. Gradually, the month is winding up, and this is the 23rd day of the month of February. Gradually approaching the election period, which we expect every one of us to go out as professional and exercise our civic rights and duty so that we can move the country forward. And today, I have come with a topic that is impacting on us all. It's cut across board, and that is the impact of the CBN currency redesigning and the cashless policy on the tax compliance in Nigeria. Just on Tuesday, we spoke about the issue of revenue generation of the subnational, that is the IGR. And I'm sure you know tax plays a very key and fundamental role in revenue generation, and that is quite important now. But the current policy, how impactful or how is it impacting on the compliance of taxation? And to do justice to this is a friend of the house, no other person than Dr. Titi Fowokan, the Group Head, Strategic Tax and Compliance, Dangote Industry Limited. She is involved in training and capacity in taxation, accounting, fraud examination, and internal control with over 27 years professional experience cutting across the accounting examination and proceeding. She has a qualification to be with the Ogun State University and has a master's in international business law from the University of Cumbria, Castley in UK. She has MSc and PhD in accounting from Christmas University, Talk and Cottage, British West Indies, and a professional career with PwC and Deloitte, and first industrial experience at Oando PSC, a fellow of so many professional colleagues. One, the Institute of Chartered Accountant, the Chartered Institute of Taxation, another professional body, a member of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, and Vice President of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiner, the Lagos chapter, among other leadership roles. She's also the current Technical Secretary of Ilukbeju Bagada and District Society, and also served as the pioneer Social and Publicity Secretary of that district. Our guest today is not just the FICO alone. She balances it, socializes, and makes sure that revenue comes in, both for the industry and the government. And that will be doing justice together. Let me remind you that I need to improve my IGR as a subnational, which is a department of the Institute. Bring your goods and products to be patronized on ICAN on air, and we can give it that global viewership that is expected of it. On that note, I will be going on a very short break. And when I come back, I'll be coming in with our guest for today as we do justice to our topic. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. And I'm back here to welcome our guest. Do we have a guest in the studio? Oh, great.
Yeah.
We have our guest, Dr. Titi Fowokan. You're welcome on the show again.
Thank you. Good evening, Sheson. Good evening, professional colleagues and viewers from
Yeah.
everywhere. Thank you.
Each time I guest you on the icon on here like this, I feel cool because I know we're going to increase our knowledge base. And today we are talking on a topical issue. I don't want to ask of your experience with this Naira
I need
redesigning.
cash.
You need
Need
cash.
cash.
Hey, big data. So, well, if you need cash, me, I need cashes. So let's kick the ball rolling, and we want to start on the topic of the impact of CBN Naira Redesign and Cashless policy on tax compliance in Nigeria. I'm sure we all know the importance of taxation, and I'm starting this way to say a dynamic society is one where the citizens are ready to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Despite the slow pace, Nigeria qualifies to be described as a dynamic country. It is a privilege guesting an important personality like you to share your wealth of experience with our global viewers on today's topic. Let me start this way by saying, what is currency redesign, and what are the reasons that makes or cause a country to redesign their currency?
Thank you, Sheson. Let me greet our viewers once again as we look at what is pinching all of us at that pinpoint. We're talking about currency redesign. It's actually a means whereby a country improve on its currency security. It is just for that country to keep above counterfeiting of the currency, and also stay ahead of threats, things that may make the currency to become a free for all, and may be used as a means of threatening the security, the livelihood of the people, as well as the economy of that country. So it's actually aimed at specific objective, and that's one of that is improving the currency security. So we can identify maybe the currency is being counterfeited. A lot of it is outside there. People can print it anyhow. So we just want to make sure that we catch all those ones that are doing. So we probably just go into a redesign of our currency, put some security features that people don't really know. So when you bring the fake one, we know fake from the real currency. And we have countries that have gone through this particular currency redesign. We know of India. I know UK, US, they're also looking at things about their redesigning of the currency. You know, US is a peculiar, UK is a peculiar case because we now have our king, not more the queen. So there will be need for some changes. Their own is just peculiar. I know the US is also looking at this has been on for a longer time. So there are some. The key thing is we want to ensure that you can't counterfeit this currency. We've had a lot of fake ones out there. We want to mop up that one and then put the one that nobody will know. We have put some features. So when you are putting the fake one, we can identify. So this was something was done by India in sometime around 2016. But we will talk about as we go along. They also had their own lessons, like what we're going through now.
Great lessons when you carry out currency redesigning, and Nigeria is not exempted. Looking at some of the things that you have highlighted out, I want you to possibly re-emphasize for us some of the advantages which I can consider as benefit that currency redesigning will bring to a nation as a citizen. I think it's very much important when you look at what you have just defined. There are definitely going to be benefit that professionals and non-professionals that are hooked up to this program can learn from. What are the advantages?
Okay, let me just say that if I come from my area of jurisdiction, I'll talk more about tax and also go in between. Like I mentioned before, the key thing in terms of the advantage is the security of the currency, to be sure that we it maintains our sovereignty, also protects against counterfeiting, and also try to stabilize the national economy. You know, when you see that there's so much currency out there, the whole intent and purpose is to ensure that at the end of the day, you are not redesigning because you just want to redesign, but you are redesigning because you want it to have economic effect in the nation, apart from the security that you are looking at. So it shouldn't be something that will now cause more harm than good.
Nothing to cause more harm than good. And for those that are just joining us, I'm a guest in this evening, Dr. Titi Fowokan, who I popularly call Titi Tax. When you see her, everything about her is tax, 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 possibly because her name starts with T. As we dig deeper, Dr. Titi, can you help our global viewers to clarify this gray area? It's been a confusion in the midst even of professional. When we talk about currency redesign and currency redenomination, are they the same or they are two different concepts?
Okay, thank you, Sheson. They are not the same. They are not the same. In fact, if you just look at the words behind the currency, redesign, redenomination, I'm not so good at, I'm not a good English student, but I still know that redesign and redenomination are not saying the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
redesign is more of talking about improving the currency security to prevent counterfeiting, like I said earlier on. But when we now go into redenomination, it's more of a simplification of the nominal value of the currency. And that's by, let's say, for instance, you have 1,000. When you now redenominate, the 1,000 will still carry the value of 10, or value of 1. And then you say 1,000 sefa is now 1 sefa, or 1,000 cedi is now 1 cedi. And the value is the nominal value that you deal with, and without reducing the real value of the currency. It's just trying to just change your 1,000 to your 10, or 1,000 to 1, and then let it come at that level. So it's not the same. And when you talk about redenomination, is more of when the value of the currency is recalibrated due to substantial change in the buying power of the
Mm,
currency, just to give it
mm,
some strength. But the redesign is more of, is a simple word, design. The way it looks has changed. Some features
mm,
have changed, and that is the
mm.
difference. So they are not saying the same thing. They're actually different, and they are used for different purposes.
Hmm. If I may ask this question, Dr. Titi, you've traveled vast, that I know very well. As your brother, I can affirm that. And you observe that most of the developed climes, they don't have this higher denomination that we talk about. When you talk about 1,000, the way we have 1,500, I'm sure for dollar is about $100. And
Mm,
when you that's the highest thing you see. You see 100, you see 50, you see 20, 10. And most of the time you go to America, you see what dollar shop that everybody is patronizing. I just want you to give an insight. And we are looking at what the government is doing. They are trying to phase out this 1,500 kind of, maybe to restrict it the way it moves. And we somebody said the ATM is now dispensing just 200 and not the higher bills. Can we say they are trying to redenominate our currency to discourage the spending of the I1? Or what interpretation can you give to this thing that we are facing currently?
I try not to talk on the political angle when it comes to some of these things, but I think let me take it from where you started. I've had a recent experience. I think in the like a month ago, I was in Gambia, and the
Hmm.
maximum currency is $200.
Hmm.
Uh, if you go to the UK and you bring out £50, they will look at you and say, "Are you from Nigeria?" Because I've had that experience. I
Hmm.
stayed with a friend in the UK, and when I gave £50, she was like, don't let them come and query where I got my money. She was,
Hmm.
a maximum was £20 that she had on her. So I don't think what we're trying to do is currency redenomination. No, I think we've mixed the currency redesign with some other undertone. I will
Hmm.
want to put it that way. Because if you look at it in the real sense of it, we're trying to achieve so many things. For instance, there is the general feel that the banknotes are being hoarded. There's
Hmm.
hoarding of the notes. So we're trying to use it to reduce the uh, cash in the
In
environment.
circulation, yeah.
And I want to just learn from some words of Taiwo Idele. He's a colleague that I respect. We used to work together before I left for the industry, and he's still in practice. And he's somebody that is passionate about things like this.
Hmm.
Now, from his own point, he said, look, we really, as Nigeria, we are not, we are still one of the cashless society, the way it is, and that we have the hard cash and the soft cash.
Hmm.
So what we are dealing with now is the hard cash, because it's found its way into the hands of, in quotes, some people that shouldn't be having it because they're using it for negative purposes. And
Hmm.
so what we're really doing now is to look for how to get that hard cash out of the wrong hands.
Hmm.
Not really saying that we are redenominating the currency,
Hmm.
because we are still releasing 500 and 1,000. If we are redenominating, we're not going to be having 500 and 1,000 again.
Hmm.
It's going to change in terms of the way it's carrying. And also, this system is supposed to guard against counterfeiting. It's supposed to curb insecurity. Those are the reasons we're given when this was to be done, and also promote price stability. So if we look at those reasons, it's actually a more of a redesign, but it's actually a one. Nigeria, we always add flavor to what we do.
Hmm.
What we are
Hmm.
doing is not strictly is a redesign, but with the intention of also addressing some other issues. And that
Oh.
is why it looks like it's affecting quite a number of people, and we're feeling it this way. If I just take an example of India, sometimes in 2016, they actually decided to withdraw the 500 and 1,000 rupees from the circulation, and they now introduce a new one.
Hmm.
Within 6 months, our own is between 1 month or two, December to
Two.
January.
Two, yeah.
Yeah. So they did it within 6 months in 2016. In 2018, their economy was in trouble.
Hmm.
So, let's it even give them some time. So, and the small businesses were affected. We are already experiencing that in Nigeria now,
Hmm.
because people are complaining, especially those who sell perishable goods, are complaining about people don't have money to buy, and they bring it from the farm and it has a shelf life.
Hmm.
So there's always that problem is existing. And so it will affect the supply chain, it will affect demand. You want to buy, but you don't have the cash. And the person you're
Hmm.
buying from says you must pay cash. And now you say,
Hmm.
oh, let me do transfer. It will be bad enough for you to hear that. People will tell you, I don't want transfer, because even the transfer doesn't come.
Hmm.
Someone was sharing an
Hmm.
experience that someone did a transfer, he saw the amount come in, and by the time he
Hmm.
opened his
Hmm.
eyes, the next moment, the money has
It
reversed.
is reverse.
So, and then you now say, okay, fine. You want to also go on the route of POS. You see
POS.
decline transaction. 3 months. I have a particular experience of a decline transaction since November. I'm yet to get a reverse. And then the cashless thing came in. So it's more like bringing so much loss in the people are losing hope in the system. And the Indian case was that instead of achieving what they want to achieve, the net savings reduced by 50%, currency circulation increased from 18
Hmm.
trillion rupee to 20 trillion rupee. So the question is, have they really achieved the objective? So
Achieve what
we
they
are asking ourselves a question: what do we want to achieve? Are we going to achieve it with this approach we've adopted? Like for instance, in the US, they don't do things rush, 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 rush. They apply systematic and systemic process. They have a process from the first stages. Let us even look at what are we trying to deal with. First of all, we address they have to say the design. What is the new design going to look like? They now say, okay, fine, we've gotten the design. We order for what we have designed. We are sure it's okay, is in accordance with what we want. They now go into production. It's after they are produced and they are sure that it will be able to meet the gap of what they are trying to go. That's when they now come to issuance. So it's like we have trillions, we are producing billions. The gap is there. So until when we look at this process, we may not get it right. And not that I fully support it. In fact, it has made my life to be cashless more than before. But at the same time, I can understand. But the woman selling things on the road, I will tell you the number of deaths that have happened because they can't get cash. And the other party says, I want my cash. And I know the number of people they are beating up because they brought old notes and they wanted new notes. So it has caused a lot of things. I think we just need to have a systematic way to do it, which would have helped us anyway.
Systematic way. A systematic way would have been more of an advantageous thing for us. While you are giving those analyses, I want to bring up this question that this currency redesigning, which if I bring it to our local content, you'll be talking of Naira redesign. It seems to have a close relationship with cashless policy. I want to ask, can you just educate our members, our viewers, what is this cash policy? Is it related again? The other one, I related currency redenomination to currency redesign. I want to relate this currency redesign to cashless policy. Are they related? And please explain to us what cashless policy is all about.
Cashless policy is a separate thing on its own. It has started before currency redesign. We had a time when people would now, CBN started telling us across the counter, you can't do more than, I think, 500 before cash, later reduced to 400. Later, they charge you for anything above the limit. For corporates, there's also a limit. So cashless policy has been encouraged all the while. It's just that the currency designer is now marrying cashless policy to now make our life to be the way it is now. So cashless policy mainly discouraging the use of each raw cash. When you say raw cash, like let me take the word of Taiwo, hard cash, the printed one, taking that for transactions, trying to just reduce the use of those raw cash, but encourage the use of the bank more, the use of bank transfer, ATM cards, POS, other financial instruments, for transferring cash in transactions. So it's still really cash movement, but it's now in soft e-cash. Pardon me to use that word. I think I'm not wrong. It's now soft cash.
You're right. Yeah.
So we are still moving cash, but you are moving it in electronic form. And it makes it easier to track transactions anyway. So the cashless policy will make everybody to come inside the tax net. I will talk as a tax woman.
I think I will interject you there because that's an area where I really want to delve into when this cashless policy is being discussed, because I want viewers to know what are the benefits, because everyone seems to be, I know we started this for over 10 years ago, possibly during the period of Sanusi, when he was CBN governor. We've been talking of cashless policy, and today we are still battling with it. When I look at area of taxation, which is a revenue generation for the government, what will you say are the benefits of this cashless policy as a professional?
Okay, thank you for that. First, tracking of transactions is now easier. People that are below the radar of the taxman are now being brought into the limelight. So it's nothing like you want to, we have underground economy, black economy, this one. all those economy that are not feasible and visible are now going to come into the limelight of the taxman. And for instance, you have to transact business. Everybody must have BVN now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And when you have BVN, is unique to you. Now, when you move funds from your account to another account, unless the bank just wants to be funny, they know where it's coming from, where it's going to. Now, the only bit about it is that there may be some misinterpretation of transactions that pass through your account. If you don't put proper narration, it's just like a normal transaction that you have. The taxman comes to review your transactions and he looks into your records and he sees things like CSR, public relation. They will pick it up. They will ask questions. So when you are doing your transaction and you just do transfer and you say PR, they will ask you, what is this PR for? PR to a layman is public relations. And PR to a layman is underground money. Let me, pardon me to use that word, because that's the way some people understand it. But it may not mean so. So it's bringing things to the limelight and making it clear. Now, we have people that do illicit fund transfer, illicit fund flows. You've done some money laundering. Now, everything has to pass through the financial system. And, we have this full story of Ush Poppy. How was he caught? It was because the transactions were through the financial system and they were able to track him, how he moved, his lifestyle, social media, all those ones combined together. So you are now dealing with things through the online means that can be tracked because the audit trail is there, can know from end to end. Even when you intercept it, it can still be traced. So you are coming into the limelight of the taxman. And if you have not been paying your taxes, this is a time for you to change and repent.
A great benefit. This cashless policy would definitely increase the revenue generation. Like you said, the black economy, the underground economy, those things that we cannot see in the limelight. This cashless policy seems to be beaming light into everyone's transaction. And there's a particular word you used. If you don't want to be caught in the names, give the right narration. Otherwise, the taxman will just be here to eat you. Sincerely speaking, if you are just joining us, I won't say you've missed a lot because Dr. Fowokan was waiting for you. But we have actually been talking about the CBN Naira Redesign and Cashless policy on the tax compliance in Nigeria. And let me open the chat box for questions from our members. I know they are itching, but let me say this to let you know that any question that is political, I will not even allow my guests to be put on the spot, because I'm sure this is a program that is viewed globally, and the election season is out here. We can speak to the government the truth professionally, but we want to go politically so that the institute will not be caught nabbing. But the floor is open for us to have a question. Before I proceed with mine, let me quickly lynch on the question from the Mitokbe Fagbola. This is the man from ancient city of Ibadan. He's saying that the new Naira note already in circulation are just being kept by the holders of precautionary and speculative motive at the expense of transactional motive. Any hope sooner or later for cash availability in the open market for common man? Before I allow my guests to answer, well, we may not be able to substantiate that these are in the hands of those some certain holder. All we know is that the cash is in circulation. But Dr. Titi, don't let me preempt. I know you do justice to this in a minute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eso, and thank you very much, Deni Fagbola. I quite understand what you're saying because we can even see the way it's going on. We got a case whereby in the media that some banks are keeping it in the ATM room, not allowing to dispense. We got some people are holding it in somewhere. But to be sincere with you, if it's actually in circulation, there's no how they can really hold that won't be available for people. You can imagine you get to the bank, you want to collect out of maybe 100,000 in your account, you are told you can collect 3,000 naira, and that 3,000 is even not available. Some of the banks have confirmed truly that is not available. They don't have the cash. I have friends who are works in banks, and some of them are even exhausted the way they are now because there's so much pressure on them. So I would want to say that there may be some intentions around the precautionary means, but the fact that it's not available to everybody is something that cause for concern. I want to be hopeful. I'm not in government, I'm not in CBN, but I'm also hoping, like you are hoping, that after the election, things will ease off. We just pray so. Let's just keep
Hope.
hoping and praying.
Hope is the word that we have now, and we can keep hope alive so that in the nearest few days we can talk about having a question. I have a question from Triple A, that is Dr. Abel I, as saying all the way from the capital city, Abuja, and he's asking that the currency redesign policy has anti-money laundering on the team. Same for terrorism financing. These are positive. Sadly, implementation has produced unintended consequences. What will you advise the CBN to do going forward?
Thank you for that question. I think the first thing I'll tell CBN is to go back to the drawing board. CBN needs to look at, fine, we've gone into this policy, we've gone into this project. It looks like people are feeling somehow. I quite agree that we should read our environment of all this crime financing, terrorism financing, and things like that. But there will be need for CBN to reassess. Between December and now, I've had people that have lost loved ones because they cannot get cash. I've had calls from my mother, my aged mother of over 100 years, saying she needs something, and my sister that she said we could not get it for her. I have to start running around to get, I don't even have the cash. I have to start doing transfer that bounce twice, 3 times to get it and send it to them. So it is something that I believe CBN should listen to the plight of the people. Let's not just overlook it and say because it looks like political, but they might need to now, like I said, systematic way of doing this. CBN is not the only one that I know would, CBN fine, they print, they're in charge of printing, but there are some other economists that could also support them in ensuring that this goes round. People did not even, in fact, to be sincere, when they started this Naira, I was saying CBN is not talking to people. They've given deadline. People don't know what it means, and it's happened. I know because I read it, but you see, a lot of things need to happen. They need to look at this and probably just go back and see how they can bring everybody in. Some are falling into already, but some are still out. A lot of people don't understand. They believe it's political. And I think they need to just let people clear their minds and be positive that it's for the good of the nation, if truly that's what they meant to achieve.
Sincerely speaking, that is a brilliant advice. And I saw Fadola chipping in that word to say CBN needs to strengthening the channel platform. It seems they did not prepare for the surge that
there's a lot. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. They lot to be done. The fintech industry is stretched. They need to encourage them. They need to create more infrastructure. They need to support the banks. The banks that are being burnt, it's not their fault. So there's a lot to be done. In fact, when the banks are not ready for this, I must say that, because they just got, and there are people that are now flooding the banks. And now say people should go to CBN to deposit. Everybody now, oh no, CBN, you are too many, go back to the banks. And all the bank staff are stretched out. So I think they just need to look at how to ease the pain on everybody.
Okay, and before I go back to my question, let me quickly because this is interactive, and Shagun is saying nice presentation, but he's saying, can you please comment on money in circulation and currency in circulation?
Okay. You know, when you talk of currency, you probably be talking about our Naira. Currency is more of our Naira. But when you talk of money, you're probably talking about dollar, talking about Naira, talking about other things. And you can also talk about this, they're not physical cash. Because I've talked about other means of transacting business. So like I said, you look at the hard cash, the physical cash, and the electronic cash. We actually have quite a number of electronic cash in circulation as we're talking. So, in fact, there's a comparison that was done that Nigeria is as cashless as US and UK. So what we are
mm,
dealing with is the physical cash. But a lot of transactions are going on through electronic platform. People are transferring money. A lot of people have developed soft PalmPay, OPay, PayPay, VPay, DPay, every pay. And these are used to transact
mm,
business. So there's money in circulation. But the currency,
mm,
the Naira currency that we're used to carrying around is what is actually giving us that. Because we now have the Naira in hard current, in hard form is what is actually short. But we can actually do other currency, other transactions without having to carry the Naira if the infrastructure is there and is supporting us. Because these failed
mm.
transactions is getting too much.
If the infrastructure are there to minimize the failure rate that we are experiencing, I'm sure the one we might need to introduce is maybe we'll go on Titi Pay, so that once we give them that, the failure rate
No, it will
will
be T-Pay.
definitely
It will be T-Pay.
T-Pay. T-Pay, okay. Don't worry, we'll definitely get that. Let me ask this particular question. It seems before because I need to come to the tax aspect of this discussion that we are doing. It is alleged that tax compliance is an upfront tax among individual and corporate organization in Nigeria. Based on your tax knowledge and experience of Nigerian terrain, why is it so? Or what could you say is the reason for this upfront tax that we are faced with?
When they say that tax compliance is an Herculean task, what I usually say is I tend not to agree. At the same time, I agree. I'll say I tend not
Okay.
to agree because maybe because of my knowledge and experience over time. I've been doing tax for over 27 years. And you can imagine what it means. It's more like a part of my life. But to the layman, it's an equivalent task. I must admit that because it is technical. And
Hmm.
when something is technical, you don't understand the rudiments, definitely you will see it as it is a tough thing. But simply put, if you make income or you generate income or you are involved in economic activities, tax is inevitable for you. You've
Hmm.
just got to understand what it takes to pay tax, what it takes to understand the tax environment. So it's actually um, understanding the principles. Let me put it the way the principle behind tax compliance, tax payment, tax timelines, the tax system. We have a tax policy that drives the tax laws. In recent time, we've been amending our tax laws through the Finance Act. And while we're doing that, we also look at what are the economic impact of the laws we have. How do we amend the laws to be able to ease any pain? Which industry has been at first? Recently we have the Startup Act for the
Hmm.
fintech and startup
Fintech.
companies to encourage them. Because now you see what we're talking about. Now, if there are many and they're able to develop that industry, then what are we saying? We have the Silicon Village of Nigeria in Yaba. If you enter Yaba, what you will see there, you really know what
Hmm.
it is. So that act is to address them, encourage them, give them some incentives. So tax has to do with you understanding the principles and knowing the law. Yeah, you can't be everything. You still need that knowledge of what does the law say about a particular thing. And the level of tax education is actually low amongst the SMEs. A lot of them just feel you are bothering them. But for the corporates, they have tax department, tax divisions, so they are able to understand this thing and mitigate any risk. It's just for the low level individuals. Not every individual understand tax. How does the tax law
Hmm.
affect you as an individual? People don't know. What is the effective tax you pay or you have to pay? People don't know. So the level of education is what really makes it to be difficult. And because of the technicality, we have to break it down like ABC so that they will know. For instance, I can tell you if you are getting income of 20,000, what will be the tax you will pay? As simple as that. If your income is getting to 20 million, what will be the tax you pay in naira terms? By the time I start talking in percentage, I'll be confusing everybody. But if I can
Hmm.
say for every 5 naira, you pay tax of 1 naira, it means that they understand what I'm saying and they can on their
Hmm.
own calculate and do it. And then you see there's also issues around illicit fund flow, people that are doing a lot of business and they are not being taxed. Now, with this, our life on the system, then those are the type of government will now come and defend where you got your income. And I always
mm,
have this phrase that I say, no income, no taxation. If you
mm,
don't have income, you pay tax on your income. So if you don't have any income, you can't worry about tax. But the moment you
mm,
have income, you must understand how does the tax law affect you, what are your obligations. Is when you fail to know, what we say, ignorance is not an excuse when it comes to tax
mm,
matters. So it's not really that
mm.
it's a, it's like the knowledge it requires, the doggedness that it requires for you to be able to move along with the requirements of the law is what people may not really fancy. And
But Dr. Titi, I'll pick you up on this. We have several people who understand the nitty-gritty of what you say, what percentage to pay. They are knowledgeable enough, but they have this trust gap in the area of social contract. And because of that, they feel I'm a government on my own. I provide electricity, I provide water, I provide road, I provide. So why should I give my money to politicians that will waste it? How do we strike this balance in such a way to attract the trust deficit that is definitely with the citizen that are willing and ready to pay?
It's a tough one, but we can't give excuse of the trust deficit to not do the right thing. So we expected to do the right thing, and we have to. So what we need to do first, let's fulfill our part. And I tell people, try to exercise your civic duty. And we're talking about election. We're talking about so many. Don't stay and be an onlooker. Join
Mm,
and fulfill your part. You may think that your voice is not counting, but one day we'll get to the promised land. That's what I believe. Somebody will say I'm being spiritual. Well, I believe that being spiritual has been making me to be alive till today anyway. But
mm,
we need to just do our part. If people are doing the wrong thing, we join them to do the wrong thing. Two wrongs can never make a right. That's
mm,
what I believe. Let's do the right thing so that we can stand shoulder tall and be bold enough to say, tell me, tell me whether you've done the right thing as I have done. And the person cannot say that because it's not sure. So we can actually challenge our government. Let's start from local government. How many of us have ever told our local government people that they are doing the wrong thing? Or our local government, let's even not talk of president. We have a local government that have responsibility for us. They are not doing it. The local government chairman carries everything, all the government property, takes it to his house, and everybody is looking. And the area boys there believe that it's Babake Babayere, and they also follow him. So have we ever been able to challenge and say, look, in my area, we do this for ourselves. Have your people move as a MMAS from your area to challenge the local government? And then by the time you do that successfully, you now be encouraged to move to the next stage of the state and then next stage of the federal. We may be saying that we are small or we don't have the force, but if all of us decide to do, change begins with me. At the end of the day, we should have a formidable force that can cause a general change in everything.
mm. Change begins with me. And if you are able to collectively annex our voices, definitely we can bring the change that every one of us will feel. Moses is coming up with this question and he's saying, what are the opportunities for personal finance and investment? Window open by this crisis, by this policy, which professionals can utilize for gain. I'm sure you know we always say in the midst of crisis, there's always a blessing. So Moses, by the time Dr. Titi give you some of those windows, just make sure that you return the tithe after God to me. Dr. Titi, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I want to start from personal finance. There's one thing I always tell people. We need to look at our spending culture. If you are not good at saving, you can't manage your personal finance. And saving determines being you be determined to save. Let me put it that way. You have to be determined to fail to save, and we need to start thinking about our saving culture. And also, there are quite a number of investments now. You don't need cash to do them. I have just learned something. I told myself sometimes last year that I need to start thinking about an investment that lasts and will generate funds. And I just noticed that government has decided to be encouraging real estate. And I said, okay, let me even start from the little. We have so many real estate people now. I'm not saying just go to anyone. but you can actually have a target savings towards a particular project. It is
mm,
determination. You've got to look at what are those things that you don't need. You need to cut them off. What are you have wants, we have need, but you need to really cut them off. You don't have to get everything you want. I'm also talking to myself. There are a lot of things I've tried to cut off. I still use my woman sense to say, I want to buy this, but I really know I don't need it. I need to now use that money to invest. And there are different investment vehicles that people do. My son just told me that, Mommy, I'm doing dollar investment. I said, dollar investment. Where did you get it? I said, don't worry, just $5. I will invest $5 and it will give me another. And I said, oh, it makes sense. You start with $5, you don't know what it will give you in the next 3 months, depending on the
mm,
type of. So you need to be educated. We need to understand. We need to speak to our financial advisors. What are those investments that don't need so much money? What are the ones that we have enough funds that we can invest in and plan around that? By the time
mm,
you do that bucket drops of water, it becomes an ocean, and then you are in a financial liberation that you can actually say, yes, I don't have to spend the returns on this investment. I don't have to spend this investment. I should be able to get more return, because even the return on it is enough to take care of me. So we have to start looking at what type of investment we can do. I'm not an investment analyst, but I know that I've gone into some. Some of us have pension. Have you ever thought of what your pension can help you to achieve? Have you thought of
mm.
investment you can do with your pension? Talking to your pension fund administrator. There's quite a number of opportunities that can be done at this time. Let's save more and spend less as much as we can. Thank you.
Save more, spend less, and definitely annex your saving towards an investment that will be viable by talking to the investment advisors who are specialists in some of these things. Dr. Titi, let me ask this question, and it border around the SMEs. It is open that this recent currency redesign in Nigeria is a welcome idea. You've said that too in your submission, but lacks enough currency in circulation is a major challenge because it is negatively affecting the SMEs in particular. Do you share this sentiment that this lack of currency is affecting SMEs?
I do, but I will say to some extent, for SMEs who are not cash reliant, they are able to scale through, though they may have it may slow them down. But for those that are fully cash reliant, they are really the worst that are affected. And
Mm,
if you now go to the informal sector, they are really, really lamenting, especially our market women, our artisans. Business have been slow. I have friends who are into trading, and anytime I ask, they say customers are not even coming. Even when they come, they don't have cash. Even when they do transfer, it's not going. So our business is dull. So they are
mm,
really affected. They are really affected. And some of the things I'm looking at is there a way government can consider some palliative? When I use palliative, I'm not saying just give them money. Some form of cushioning the effect on them. Some that are in the tax net, you might need to say, okay, can we give them tax break? Can we give them some tax waiver? Can we stretch the tax payment, for them? Those who are not within the tax bracket, okay, can we just decide? Maybe government can decide to say, okay, let's make agri-produce available to them at a cheaper rate.
mm,
Some backward integration thing. Okay, you are selling. We can just have an association and a discussion with the farmers to say, look, we give you some funds. We want to take this thing to the people. They can access at the good price, and we make the funds available. Now we are making money available for INEC, but people that will go and vote don't have the money. We need to. It's when you eat and you are full that you want to go and vote. So we must look at something we need to do for the people also. We should not throw away the baby and the bathwater. We should separate
mm,
the two and be able to
mm.
take care of those who are going to do the election. Thank you.
That is very germane, Dr. Titi. For those of you just joining, I've been guesting Dr. Titi Lyo for work on FCTI, FCA, and she's been doing justice. A lot of accolades from the comment of our guests, but we are gradually winding up, Dr. Titi. Let me ask this question: that in what way can the technology be deployed to reduce the negative impact of this currency redesign and cashless policy on tax drive and compliance, especially in Nigeria?
Okay. before the cashless policy, before this cash crunch, we've had technology that is being used for tax compliance. Some states have platforms that are used. Federal has platform, and if it may interest you, the FIRS generated, I think, over 10 trillion last year,
Yeah.
and they've alluded this to the fact that they use technology, Promax, that you can't fiddle with it. Once you are late, your penalty accrues, your
It's
payment is there,
guaranteed.
and because you don't want it to keep building, you quickly pay and get. And they stepped up on their audit. Now, let me tell our viewers, audit now is not audit of paper. No, you've got to download your transactions. They will review, they will test it. They have tools that they use to test, and they will do a detailed review of the transactions. If you are the type that is hiding it in some accounts, just know that now transparency is the king for the audit of your
Hmm.
transactions. So I believe that technology has been helping, and they could help better, but they need to also look at the area of data protection, because taxpayers they have entrusted their data into hands of the tax authorities, because there's a law that says you must provide this information. But when this data is into the wrong hands and is being used to either threaten them, they lose their business secrets, or they lose revenue, or it becomes a threat to their business, to their livelihood, then it doesn't give that confidence in the system. So there must be some tools whereby the protection of the taxpayers is also looked into, even though the law has said the tax can collect. But at the same time, I believe that as a taxpayer, I hold them the duty of care, to make sure that my things are well taken care of. So there can be some accountants can think about tools to make life easier for small and medium, for informal sector, that they can use to put their figures together and seamlessly file their tax returns. People are developing a lot of things now. You don't have to wait until when you have a big company before you start the audit. I tell people that even when you do, what do we call it now, pro bono,
Bro.
as an e-route, and when they start making money, they say, sorry, I started with you, now that you're making money, remember me in your kingdom. You
Hmm.
already created a gap, a space for you to enter as first consideration when they start to perform, because not every business will start like that and be performing. Then things like fintech industry, I think that's an industry that is now firebrand now, and a lot of students are
Yeah.
developing that. So let's educate ourselves. Some of us hear about artificial intelligence. Do we know how it operates? I'm still learning, and I want to learn more. So I really believe that if we put ourselves in a research mode, for us as accountants, tax practitioners, let's think out of the box. Let's think out of the ordinary. How can we solve the problems that people are facing at this time, and ensure that they do the right thing at the right time without being penalized unnecessarily? So that will also help
Hmm.
us a lot, and technology can also help in this.
Technology can also help, and that is very deep. As professional, have an insight to be a problem solver. Don't just talk about the problem. Sincerely speaking, I've been guesting Dr. Titi Fowokan. I saw in the chat room and being flagged to me that this evening is TTT. I have AAA, triple A asking me question, and triple T asking. And you want to know what TTT is all about? Titi talking tax. And that is what we have this evening. Dr. Titi, in closing, just for 1 minute, your institute, my institute, is always open to ideas that could positively advance the growth of our members, accounting profession, and the Nigerian business environment. Uh, Please, will you give us some advice, suggestion to the institute on advocacy on the positive impact of this currency redesign and cashless policy to drive and enhance tax compliance in Nigeria? Just in 2 minutes, Dr. Titi.
Thank you. I'll try to do that in 2 minutes. I think first, as an institute, we need to advise the government to actually check the implementation of this not laudable initiative. They should take lessons from those who have done it successfully, and not those who have done it and failed, because it's been happening in other countries. It's had bad and good lessons. As accountants, we need to be closer to our clients. When you talk to people, you get a lot of pain and off them. Don't be far from your clients. They may be going through some things, and just a word or some support we give them may make them realize that this is not the end of their life. We heard about a woman that burnt herself because she could not pay back her loan. I know if you have told her as an accountant that you can restructure your loan, we can help you to package it, we can help you to talk to your bank. She may not have died and killed herself. She would have hope. And also, there may be need for reconciliation issues for our clients. Online platforms are declining. The money did not go. How do they account for it? So it will be hanging somewhere. There will be transaction. Funds are moved from one account to another account to be able to make payment. That will have its implications. So we should not stay aloof and be looking. Let's look for the opportunities in this situation we're going through. A lot of people are making money. PS people are making money. Though I don't support the way they are making because it's too much on the people. But at the same time, I have people who are developing apps that are going to be used for effective transfer of money, and they'll make their money. And above all, we should have advocacy for the tax authorities and government to provide succor and soft landing for the taxpayers. They need soft landing. They need to survive. When everybody dies, who are we going to govern? Thank you.
Very beautiful and laudable way to end the program. And at least if there is nothing, Titi talked tax to us today, and we've been able to have deeper understanding of the currency redesigning and the implication on tax compliance. Dr. Titi Fowokan, is always an insightful time, and I want to appreciate you because at the shortest possible time you availed yourself to make this presentation or this program this evening. We appreciate you greatly and want to believe when next we call, you'll definitely oblige us your time to equip the knowledge base of our members. Before I go on the show today, let me quickly roll out few announcements that I know is of high importance to the members. First and foremost, we are actually in need, and we know that as a member, we are obliged to make sure that we pay our financial subscription. It's due January 1st, and we want to encourage everyone to use the e-channel. You don't need cash to pay your subscription. Just make use of the e-channel. Your institute is forward-looking, and this they have actually developed years back. Just log on to the website and make sure that you pay your subscription. For the associate member, you have 17,500. The fellow, 32,500. Just do that, and within 1-2 minutes, going through the website, you'll pay your subscription. And also, for those that are associate above 10 years and those that are in practice for 5 years, you have opportunity to move to the highest cadre of our institute, which is fellow. And the portal is open. If you need to register for physical presence, it's 140. Those that will join virtual is 130. And this is coming up in the month of April. Just log on to the website, go to your portal, and make sure you register to have FCA. I'm sure if you are reading my name wherever you are, I'm sure you know this is not an associate member. I'm a fellow, a proud fellow of the Institute. Join us to be a fellow, and I'm sure you'll be happy you do. And on a final note, your institute, my institute, is putting together the 2023 Annual Dinner and Award. And this is coming up May 6th. It's a Saturday, 2023, in the evening. Definitely we'll be having it at the Monarch Event Center, Ikate at Lekki. Tickets are available as we speak. Single 20,000, couples 30,000, and for a corporate table of 10, 300,000. I'm sure if you log on to our website, you have all this information readily available, even for you to make use of. Let me just appeal to us. Few days, few hours, less than 48 hours, we'll be going into the election. Please, let's be security conscious. Don't go about discussing politics at the polling center. Our 58th president encourage you to partake in it because politics determine the policy, and every one of us needs to be involved in until next week, of which I believe that our land will experience the peace that is expected during this election. Please stay safe, and I'll hook up with you next week. I remain your host, Olusegun Okunade, FCA. Bye till next week, Tuesday.